Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
The SAVE Act, war on fraud, father convicted for son's school shootings, and auto pens. Is that enough to talk about on the broadcast today, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. Two incredible guests today with me. Sheriff Richard Mack, founder and president of the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Welcome back, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sam. It's great to be back with you this beautiful Arizona rainy morning.
Oh, wow. Gotta love that. At least it's not too hot yet in Arizona, but it's a-coming, baby. The heat wave is a-coming, I'll tell you what. And fellow host, brother in liberty, CL Bryant with me now. He's a Baptist minister, filmmaker, nationally syndicated talk host with lovingliberty.net. He's also the creator of the documentary Runaway Slave. He's the founder of the One Nation Back to God movement, and he speaks all over the country talking about faith, freedom, and American culture. CL Bryant, welcome back to Liberty Roundtable Live, sir.
Thank you so much, Sam. Glad to be here with you and the sheriff.
So much to talk about, so little time. Let's get right to it. Trump puts Congress on notice. No bills signed unless SAFE Act advances. This is an interesting one. First off, for the SAFE Act, Sheriff.
Absolutely. 100%.
SAFE Act.
It needs to go, and of course the Democrats are fighting that because they can't get all their illegal aliens registered to vote without it. But this is absolutely just common sense, and of course the Democrats won't touch that because it's common sense.
CL?
Oh, absolutely. Chip Roy, my good buddy. Chip Roy has this firmly on the table. The president, as the sheriff was saying, is common sense. And I think what really upsets the Democrats the most is the fact that the moves that the president makes are common sense moves. And I think that's something we have not seen in this country in a long time, is someone who takes action based on the common sense for the safety of the American people and the future of our posterity. That's what I think this president, I think he operates. I've seen him operate. I've served on two of his advisory boards back at his first term, his first run for the presidency. And I got to tell you something, you're looking at one man who loves America and wants to preserve it through whatever means necessary.
Now, one of the interesting things, the Republicans still control the House and the Senate. This should be a slam dunk passage, right, Sheriff?
You never know with some of these rhinos and some of the never Trumper Republicans, although those ranks are diminishing. But I think this should go. I think Fetterman will vote for it. One Democrat will. But when Senator Collins from Maine, she's usually anti-Trump on a lot of stuff, but it looks like she's wanting to vote for it. So the politics of Washington, D.C., though, just never cease to not amaze me.
Disappoint?
Depress me.
Okay, there you go. CL, what do you say to that? Do you think the Lisa Murkowskis and company are going to just try to be...
Oh, well, it's so unpredictable. I mean, even people like Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, those types of people who ran then got into office on a Tea Party ticket. They got on a grassroots ticket, but they seem to be walking very much in the middle of the road on some issues that are important to us and our future. And that's the thing that is very important. Sheriff and I were talking about our age and all this, how the Lord has let us live to be a certain age before we came on. But, we expect to live a little bit longer and a lot longer, and then to see our grandchildren and children grow to enjoy the America that we once did. We don't enjoy the one we once did now. But that's what we would like to preserve, is that American spirit. And they can't do it if you don't have Americans voting for American things. Just can't do that.
Well, the big debate has been about voter fraud for some time. The Democrats have complained voter fraud for literally decades until all of a sudden this happens. And then now they're saying there's no vote fraud. We all know the truth. There is vote fraud. We know the truth. There are problems. We know the truth. We need to make sure that people are Americans and that they're citizens that are voting. I really think the precinct level is where I think the buck can stop, though. If we have this mail-in voting and all this other problems, it seems to be that the precinct, most people kind of know their neighbors. They've seen people around. They're like, hey, you belong here. We know that you're in the neighborhood, that you're for reals, kind of a thing. And I think that the more local we take it to a great degree, the better. That's not saying that I think that the SAVE Act should not be passed. I don't have any problem with making sure that the right people vote. I guess I'm just saying I think the precinct level and getting rid of mail-in balloting would take us a long way, CL.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Jimmy Carter once said that it is essentially a basis for fraud. And so, and even though, actually that he was, I was a Democrat back then. He was the first president I ever voted for, was Jimmy Carter. And he sounded, of course, he's from Georgia. I'm from Louisiana. My vote may have just went for the Southern boy, but this is what it was. America was in a different mood. It was a different flavor about our patriotism back in the time of Carter's election. That has changed for whatever reason. That has changed, and now there is too much special interest that is thrown into the gumbo, as we say in Louisiana. Here, you got too many cooks in this kitchen. And we do have one commander in chief who does care about us and is setting us on a very good course, I think. But we need cooperation because anything can go sideways on Capitol Hill at this point.
Yeah.
What do you think about parties, Sheriff Mack, in terms of, I think parties are kind of part of the problem, though. Sometimes people try to vote with the party. They've given Donald Trump so much trouble in his first term about that. The Republican Party didn't embrace President Trump as I thought they should have in the first go-round, et cetera. What about parties' relevance to this, Sheriff?
Well, yeah, I think the parties are based on extortion. You go along with the party line, or we make sure your funding doesn't work, or we don't help you with your next campaign or your next election, and we'll stop the fundraising for you, and we'll abandon you when you need our endorsements and help. The two-party system was assailed by, who? The father of our country warned us against that because both the Democrats and the Republicans are far too political. The partisanship of Washington, D.C. is a huge part of the problem, just as Pastor Bryant was alluding to. So I believe that the two-party system is here to stay, but I wish it were not, because how would we get rid of it? Because the Democrats and Republicans are never going to pass legislation to get rid of the two-party system. But I actually pray for that day.
CL, what do you say?
I actually think what Sheriff is saying is right on par with what the president is actually doing for the first time in a long time, probably not since the founding president. You have one who is engaged in people over party. And this is what infuriates so many on the Democrat side and in our own party, because the president chooses the American people over the party. And listen, I'm a Republican, been a Republican for many years now, over 30 years now, since I left the Democrat Party. I've been a Republican. But now, this is the thing that I have never seen in the party in my 30 years of being one. You guys have probably been apart longer than I have, but I've never seen the type of unification behind a leader as we have in what we call the MAGA movement. And there's a reason for that. It's because people know when you care about their future interest over party interest, they know. And Donald Trump has been able to convey that, capture that, and give it to the American people in ways no other president has done in many years. And he's defended our borders. He's kept us safe. He's doing what he can to keep us safe. And that is what we're looking for in an American leader.
All right, I want to talk about war, but I want to talk about war on fraud. So President Donald J. Trump declared a war on fraud in his State of the Union address, put J.D. Vance in charge to carry it out. You got a big losses. Some say that it's billions. Many people are saying it's well over $1 trillion of fraud. Despite different approaches by previous administrations, the challenge persists nationwide. That's across Republican and Democrat-led states. And so the question becomes hey, can Donald Trump and J.D. Vance get a handle on this for once? My prayer is yes. When we get back, the good sheriff and CL Bryant will break it down for you on Liberty Roundtable Live.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
President Donald J. Trump declared war on fraud at the State of the Union, put J.D. Vance in charge. This has been a persistent problem for a long time in Republican and Democrat states, for that matter. And they're estimating that it's well over $1 trillion nowadays. Trump, of course, has blamed some of the immigrants, the Somali community in Minnesota. Experts are arguing that it's widespread across all states and not limited to any specific group. I personally believe it is certain groups that are worse than others, and it's certain states that are worse than others. They advocate for comprehensive solutions, including identity verification, so IDs, audits, increased law enforcement, etc. CL, what do you say to this? I think that Donald Trump is the man that might get this done more than any other we've seen so far.
You're old enough to remember, pardon me, you're old enough to remember the phrase, throw the bums out. That just didn't originate yesterday. They have been stealing from us for many, many years. And what happens is when we send a congressman or someone to the Hill or a senator to the Hill, what happens is they become absorbed into the process of theft. Many have found that politics is a wonderful way to make money and get rich in this country. It's being exposed, and it's being exposed for what it is. It's a game. It's a con game against the American people. That's exactly what Omar had going on in the state of Minnesota, was a Ponzi scheme against the American people, and it's being uncovered. It's high time that it was.
Sheriff?
Yeah, I tend to agree with all of that. I think that was very well stated, articulated by Pastor Bryant. The problem is, though, is Governor Walz. I think he's an absolute crook, a liar, disgusting, immoral individual. And he tries to deflect everything. He says he takes responsibility, but he deflects responsibility every chance he gets. And his most recent one was asked if the Somali people were partly or largely responsible for the fraud in Minnesota. And I'm never going to, we're not racist here. We're not going to blame any one group, even though it's obvious where and with whom this started and happened in Minnesota. And it most definitely is. I will call it like it is. It is that the illegal aliens and legal immigrants, both who came into Minnesota by large numbers, have been mostly irresponsible for this crime in Minnesota. And the governor knows it, and everybody else knows it, and saying it doesn't make it immoral, Governor Walz. Whoever is responsible, we want them arrested. And that
Amen to that.
And that includes Governor Walz and a lot of other people. He refused to do anything about it when people in his own administration told him that it was happening. He refused to take action, didn't do anything, and he made sure it kept going. He should be in jail.
And if I could add to that,
Yes, sir.
I think as the sheriff was alluding to, Walz needs to be investigated to see what type of kickbacks he may have gotten. And Fry got to be mayor of the city by money got him elected.
That's right.
Somebody's palms had been greased in this Ponzi scheme that's been going on against the American people. Actually, they owe us however much money it is. We got ripped off too.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. Now, let me say something else to Walz and others on this. If they say, hey, we're not racist, this is about race. Okay, that's your card to try to dismiss the truth, okay? The fact is we don't care about race either. But I'll tell you what we do care about. There are two groups of people, gentlemen. One group obeys the law. The other group commits crimes. We want to separate the groups based on that and prosecute the people who commit crimes. Is that a fair assessment, CL?
Oh, yes, by all means. And that will always be the case if we're going to maintain law and order. You have to separate the sheep from the goat. And there's a different pen that you put the goats in and those that you're trying to shepherd as sheep. That's always been the case. It's always been the case in human nature, as far as it's concerned, if you want to have a civil society. And if we do not get a handle on the underlying corruption that's going on in this country, then crime will naturally run unbridled in the street because it becomes a cesspool that we all are walking in the rut of. And so yeah, by all means, we must get a handle on all of this.
Sheriff Mack, I like the dual use of pen he threw out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just saying, it's serious, folks. And I don't want to pick, I'm not here after any group of people by race or by color or by this or by that. We just got to focus on who's committing the crimes, right? And that's where we need to go. And if they define their own group by committing crimes together, we can't help that, CL.
Sam, I know you're black. I know you're black. You can't see me, but yes, I am a black man.
That's right.
Okay, I know. So what I'm talking about, and what I've always talked about, is American ideals. And American ideals works for everybody. I don't care who you are. And so yeah, they played the race card. They've tried to play that. They've even called me a racist. I'm a former president of the NAACP in Garland, Texas, 35, 40 years ago when my politics was different. The light came on, but I'm certainly no racist, Sam. And just because, just letting you know, I'm a black man sitting here talking to you.
Well, I will say one thing about that. When we obey godly, family, moral country principles, we're all winning the race, buddy.
Amen.
And when we don't, we're all losing the race because society breaks down. Families suffer. Men and women and children suffer. And liberty becomes the casualty, Sheriff Mack.
Well, I did want to say, though, too, I am after one group. There is a group of people that are largely responsible for the crimes that we're talking about. And that is the group called politicians. And we need some accountability with the politicians who, just like Pastor Bryant was talking about, they have a culture of stealing from the American people. They have a culture of crimes, and then they excuse it all with, well, that's politics. And you and I have talked about this before, Sam. It's not politics. It's immorality, and it's criminal. It's criminal, a criminal habit that these people have, that they'll get money and fundraise however they can, and it doesn't matter if they're stealing it or taking it from the taxpayers. And I think the taxpayers of this country, the American people, need to rise up in righteous indignation and say, we're not paying anymore until you guys stop stealing from us.
Well, to make your point, Sheriff, there are people that are putting together an app now, and the app lets you follow all of Nancy Pelosi's trades. And they say, if you want to get rich, you just got to install this app and follow Nancy Pelosi's trades.
Yeah. And Sam, what the sheriff was saying, in his profession, he knows what a habitual criminal is. And he's what he is pointing out to us is that we have been watching habitual criminals to steal from us and then raise our taxes to pay for their habitual crimes. And this has to stop. This has to stop.
Well, I think we're making headway. The first thing you got to do is expose them so that the people can know. You got to educate the American people to what's happening. And then we, the people, need to literally get out the vote and make it too big to commit fraud or too big to cheat. We can do that if we, the people, stick together and stand for principle over party, principle over politics. We reject the politician, as Sheriff Mack said, but we embrace the statesman, CL.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're looking for now. Is a statesman. And that's what I do believe how the president comes across so strong is his statesmanship. There's nowhere he will not go. There's no one he will not talk to. And I truly believe this. And getting to know him, having to have been around him early on in the race. I've seen an evolution in this particular president. And I'm going to tell you something. I really and truly believe that as God has done so many times over human history, a leader rises up. And I think in this case, not only an American leader, I think a world leader has risen up. And no, I'm not talking about somebody who's going to lead us off the cliff. I'm talking about somebody who's going to give us peace for a while. Things will go sideways once the era of Trump is over and it changes. But I do believe we have a leader for the time that we live in right now, and that's DJT.
What we need to do is put enough in place to when another leader comes, we've got the framework for us to stand tall for the sacred cause of liberty. That's what needs to happen now. I think President Trump has evolved in office as well. I think, sadly, some of the brushes with death that he's had and the mantle of being president of the free nation in the world, or the freest nation in the world, I think that has matured him and changed him in very unique ways. We can come back and talk about that a little bit. I also want to talk about this idea. Now they're starting to prosecute parents for what their children do. To me, that's a dangerous, can I say dangerous more times, precedent that we see going on. I'll tell you that right now. Hang tight. The good Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org, LovingLiberty.net's CL Bryant. We continue in seconds on the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live.
Exposing corruption, informing citizens, pursuing liberty. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Iran stands alone, and they are losing. The words of Secretary of War Hegseth, delivering a war update this morning. He adds this will be the most intense day of strikes inside Iran. President Trump says Operation Epic Fury is progressing more rapidly than expected. He predicts it could end soon. As the BBC's Hashear Jonadeh reports, Mr. Trump is threatening Iran with a devastating response if it disrupts tanker traffic through the strategic Strait of Hormuz.
In response to this gesturing from Iran, President Trump has issued a very strong and angry message on Truth Social, in which he's warned that if Iran stops the flow of oil from the Strait of Hormuz, it will be hit 20 times harder than what it has already been hit with. And then added that Iran will face with death, fire, and fury in such case.
The president says the U.S. had to take action against Iran because of its stubborn refusal to give up its quest for nuclear weapons.
It was starting work at another site, a different site, different kind of a site, and that was protected by granite. They wanted it protected. Granite's pretty good, but they wanted it protected by a lot deeper. They wanted to go a lot deeper, and they started the process.
Iran, meanwhile, has been firing more drones, more missiles at Israel, as well as Gulf Arab countries. And gas prices continue to rise. As of this morning, AAA's national average for a gallon of regular, $3.54. That's up 6 cents a gallon from yesterday. The average in California, $5.29. The FAA briefly grounded all JetBlue flights earlier today because of a request from the airline. The ground stop was lifted after about 40 minutes. On Wall Street, the Dow's down 173 points, NASDAQ up 30 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Hey, I am Brant, and her name is Sherry, and she's a friend and a colleague of mine, and we were just praying for her, actually, because she had a major surgery she just went through.
Yes, and I am very happy about something you actually talk about all the time, which is Medishare. That's right.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like with Medishare and your health care bills?
You know what? It was seamless, and that's such a blessing when you're already nervous about a health issue, which I was.
Yeah.
Members shared my expenses. There were zero problems, and let me tell you, having people pray with you when you call in, and it's just what you need. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people. People love Medishare and saving tons of money. The typical family, I'm fond of saying, could save $500 a month.
I am so thankful for Medishare. It's so different, and I mean different in a very, very good way, Brent.
It is a good different. Call right now. They're so easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94-BIBLE.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At CSPOA.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government, and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The Foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing Foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various Foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
All right, this is absolutely crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, CL Bryant with lovingliberty.net, the good sheriff, Sheriff Richard Mack with CSPOA.org. Father convicted for son's school shooting sparks debate. Should parents be punished for crimes they did not commit or that their children commit? A Georgia jury literally convicted a guy by the name of Colin Gray of Georgia. I guess he helped his son get a rifle, and then it was used in a high school shooting. And so now the big question is, there's several cases like this where parents are being prosecuted for this. Critics are warning that, you know what, there's a core principle here. Individuals should be held responsible for their own crimes and not for the crimes of others. This is serious business. Since this relates literally to prosecutions and law enforcement, if you will, Sheriff, let's start with you.
Well, yeah, the first thing when you asked the question and you told the lead in to this story, I said, well, yes, if the parent was so irresponsible or actually participated in helping him commit the crime, then of course they can be prosecuted. But merely buying a gun for a 15, 16, 17-year-old, most farmers in this country make sure their kids have guns while they're working on the farm or the ranch to shoot at predators. That's an Arizona staple. So it just depends how much involved the father or a parent is in the crime. If that's all he did was buy a 22 or any kind of rifle for that matter, just a 22 sounds a little bit innocuous, but it doesn't matter. The parent is in charge of how the child approaches gun ownership as he's growing up. And so if the child then takes that weapon and misuses it, and the parent had no idea the son was ever going to commit a crime with the gun, the parent is innocent, 100%.
The issue in my mind is I'm not responsible for Adam's transgression. I'm just responsible for my own actions. And the point the sheriff is making is clear as I understand it. That I just want to rephrase to kind of make it clear for me and everybody else, Sheriff, is that, you know what, I'm responsible if I take actions that assist in or ignore reality and or participate in the crime in any way. Hey, there's culpability for that. But if I'm not really involved or responsible in any way, that goes to the I'm not responsible for Adam's transgression. I'm only responsible for my own actions. But the question is how much of those actions by a parent related to the child's, quote, actions of crimes committed by anyone, partial or in full knowledge or allowing something to happen when they could have stopped it. I mean, the list goes on, CL, right?
Oh, absolutely. I got my first gun. Granddaddy gave it to me down in Grand Cane, Louisiana. I was 11 years old. It was a 410 single shot, 410. And of course, he gave it to me for the very reasons the sheriff said. You know, I used to like to go out in the woods and just, you know, build a fort, what have you. But every country boy had a gun. Back in my day, during hunting season, if you had an old truck or something, you had a gun rack in that truck, and you took your gun to high school. The guns were out in the trucks at the high school because we're going hunting on that Friday night, over the weekend. The culture has changed and the understanding of how weapons are used. But whether or not a parent should be charged, there's a lot we don't know about why this guy went. Maybe he was responsible. I like to second guess the will of the people. If a jury of his peers have found him guilty, then he needs a good attorney to give him an appeal on that thing, if in fact there's any innocence that can set him free. But I'm always reluctant when a person is convicted by a jury of his peers on something like this, because there's always something we don't know that got him convicted.
That's fair. I just need to make sure that the judge gives fair, open instructions to the jury so they know what their real responsibilities are. Sometimes the judges, if they're anti-gun or whatever else, might taint what the jury thinks their responsibilities are, Sheriff.
Yeah. You see, Sam, that's the point I wanted to make. This jury, if the father had nothing to do with it except providing the son with a gun, this sounds like an anti-gun prosecutor and definitely an anti-gun jury who are trying to send a message: don't be irresponsible in letting your child have a gun. That's not their call. If I'm not responsible for the mistakes or crimes of my son, any child in most homes in this country, because 80% of the homes in this country have guns in them, and children can go get a gun away from a grandparent or in their gun cabinet, and they can go get a gun, break into a cabinet and get them. So this is not the responsibility of the father. But Sam, I also have one other thing to add to this. Parents aren't even being allowed the duty and responsibility of making sure that their kids are safe and that the schools are not overstepping their boundaries in having and helping and making sure that children can change their sexes. And parents are completely left out of it. But now we have a child that commits a crime and we want to charge the parents. There's
valuable point.
A bit of an incongruous idea.
Yeah, CL, he's spot on that. How do we divorce parents from this? But yet make parents ultimately responsible for that. And this again is the psychosis in my mind of these liberals that are just they're out of touch with reality.
Oh, it is absolutely psychotic, and that was a very good point, Sheriff. Okay, all of a sudden it is the parents' fault, okay, but yet the kid can, you'd have to call you to give them a Tylenol, but they can give them a birth control without your knowledge. It's just ridiculous what's going on. But the responsibility, that same gun that my granddad gave to me, if the instructions were very clear. Nothing had better come up shot. He was placing the responsibility firmly for giving me something on me. It was my responsibility. And I think what happens, we coddle our kids so much now instead of making them responsible for what you pass along to them. And there's an irresponsibility. And so the liberal Democrats, they got to have somebody be responsible. They're not going to blame the child. So they blame the parent for a child's inaction and bad behavior. And so there's a pro and con to that. But just the same, I'm always reluctant to undercut a jury of peers.
Course, yes.
Mm-hmm, always right.
Now, I want to change a gun to a car. Sheriff?
Okay.
What if your kid gets crazy and goes 100 miles an hour and kills somebody in their car? And now, hey, should we charge the parent?
Yeah, you see, that's assault with a deadly weapon. No, charge the gun dealership or the car dealership. charge the car manufacturer, just like they're actually doing this. You both know that. They're doing it with guns. They're suing manufacturers of guns. So Smith & Wesson gets sued if you use one of their guns in a crime. Now, and there's been verdicts against the manufacturers that have stuck in this country. That's how absolutely crazy the insanity that we're dealing with here.
Yeah, then that is insane. No, if Junior goes out and kills somebody in the car, Junior, I'm sorry. I'm going to do everything I can to make jail comfortable for you, but looks like that's where you're going. Because that's just the way that works. No, that wouldn't be my fault. That'd be his fault, period. And so America has to get back to making people accountable for their actions. That's what has to happen.
And that's kind of the point that I want to get at is, they want to make you believe somehow it's different with a gun than it might be with a car, or who knows what other tool might be used, a knife or anything else for that matter. Look, people need to take responsibility. The members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believe that you got to be 8 years old to get baptized, because at that point you're kind of accountable. You understand the permanent objects of things. You understand, your choices and things like that. And that's why we have ages for driver's licenses and different things. It's to make sure that there's accountability, right?
That's right. That's right. Accountability. And that's a word that's missing in the American culture right now. As we were talking to one of our colleagues before we came back on the show, about being late or whatever, that's all about accountability. And so from even that to talking about gun culture It's all about accountability. And I don't think we're teaching our young people in our home, first of all. And yes, in some cases it's missing in the church, but it's certainly missing in the secular world, in our educational world. Accountability.
All right, I'm going to talk about Jeanine Pirro a little bit. This is a very interesting twist story. I'll give the teaser now. On the other side of the break, we'll talk about this one, folks. Federal prosecutors have now discontinued their investigation into former President Joe Biden's use of the auto pen for signing clemency and other documents. The probe did not result in any charges and did not reach a grand jury. Jeanine Pirro was involved. We'll tell you about it and break this down in seconds. CL Bryant, the good sheriff, and yours truly in seconds on TV.
This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
Looking for an IT partner that truly understands your needs? Managed IT Services is the answer. We meet with you regularly to discuss your goals and form a tailored technology plan. Our customers have called us a trusted advisor who delivers. When it comes to IT, we do it all. Firewalls, cloud storage, server migration, and more. Say goodbye to long-term contracts and hello to a team that earns your business month after month. Call 801-706-6980 now and let Managed IT Services transform your IT experience.
What do you wish your parents would do to show you they love you? Take me to Montana. That I would have a huge slumber party with all the girls there. Play with me more often. My mom's so busy with the board meeting.
To spend more time together as a family. Do more out-of-the-house activities.
This is a tough one.
My parents, they do everything. They love me. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have a roof over my head.
They don't need to show it to me. I just know they love me.
Well, not yelling at me very much. What do you wish? What do you wish?
Raise my allowance.
To not argue together.
Have my dad be home more for dinner and stuff so that I could be even closer.
Family, isn't it about time?
Buy me an ice cream and kiss me to love me.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay, what's the next question?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, CL Bryant with us, lovingliberty.net. Richard Mack with us, the good sheriff, CSPOA.org. We're breaking down federal prosecutors have now discontinued their investigation into the use of the auto pen by Joe Biden. Many were saying it was criminal, and a lot of presidents have used auto pens, but now they say, hey, Joe was completely incompetent, not even able to know what's going on. They say the probe did not result in any charges brought forward. It didn't even reach a grand jury. The investigation was led by Jeanine Pirro in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, and I guess she struggled to find a, quote, prosecutable offense. A 2024 Supreme Court ruling granting presidential immunity made the case even more difficult. The use of the auto pen by Biden's aides was aimed at managing a high volume of paperwork. And Joe said, hey, I made the decisions myself. No harm, no foul. Sheriff, what do you say to this one?
Well, I don't believe that, first of all. And can somebody please explain to me, what's a auto pen? What does it do? When you put it in your hand, it automatically signs by itself? What?
No, it's just basically a digital signature, Sheriff, that somebody else can put on a document on your behalf, right?
Oh, so it's like DocuSign.
Kinda.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. First of all, this wasn't Biden's call, and everybody knows that. They had to do this for him because he was busy sleeping, or he didn't know what he was doing, or he was in the wrong room, or he was smelling some girl's hair, or whatever. I mean, he wasn't responsible. This should not have been aimed at Biden. It should have been aimed at his staff, who are mentally competent to stand trial. And so I think somebody dropped the ball there, or they just saw, Biden says, but if Biden is saying now he gave everybody permission, then that makes it legal. It does.
And I say that's a serious problem. And let me give you a quick example. I've been insurance licensed and mortgage licensed and everything else. And to get those licenses, there's a fiduciary responsibility. I've got the FBI. They've taken my thumbprints, my fingerprints, my palm prints. I've had FBI background checks. All that happens when you get licenses in the financial world, by the way, just so everybody understands. But one of the things that I always did was I would never sign anything that I wasn't supposed to sign. So let's say a real estate agent would come to me and they would give me a real estate contract. And today's March 10th, and let's say they wrote March 9th on it instead of the 10th. Then the real estate agent would be like, oh my gosh, I said the wrong dates on this thing. You got to fix it. Send it to me again. Oh my gosh, I'm out with clients right now. Can you just update the date? And I would always say no. And people get mad at me about that. But the reason that I said no is because then if I ever got in front of a jury and they say, did you ever sign something for somebody else that you should not have signed? I can flat out say no, and I don't even have to think about it. I did not, guaranteed. And so even though it was an innocent situation, I didn't want to cross that line and be in trouble. But yet in the administration, what, this is just commonplace? You just sign for POTUS? Hey, I just signed for POTUS. I mean, CL, it's insane.
Joe Biden was hijacked from the very beginning. The people around him are certainly to blame for that. Judge Pirro has been on my show several times when she was promoting her books. We've done 2 venues together. And I can assure you this, if there was any way that Janine Pirro could have slapped Joe Biden or his administration across the face with a crime, she would have done it. And there's no love lost. The way she feels about that administration, and so as the sheriff said, if he gave the authority to whosoever will let them sign with the DocuPen, then there is no crime. There wasn't a crime. The chief executive authority gave his approval. So that's where I'm sure she went to.
And let me add to that, Sam. When I was a detective, I handled a lot of cases of forgery and fraud. The first thing that is asked in court to a victim, did you give permission to your daughter, to your cousin, to anybody, to somebody you didn't even know? Did you give anybody permission to sign your name on your check? Okay. If you gave somebody permission, you have no crime. It is not forgery. It is not fraud, and it is not a crime. And so that's probably where Janine Pirro ended up with her investigation.
Well, and here's where I think the muddy water is on this thing. Joe Biden might have given permission for a lot of things, but if we're going to talk about an avalanche of documents, gentlemen,
right.
Then, hey, to really know would have to go through every document and ask Joe if he gave permission. I know that's an impossible task, but if you want to get to the truth, that's what would need to be done, right, Sheriff?
Yeah, he wouldn't know either. He wouldn't know anyway. And so that's why this is such a dead-end investigation. To have him testify. I mean, look at how idiotic the other Democrats were. Of course, Kamala and Clinton and Obama and them speaking at the funeral for Jesse Jackson. That was an outrage. That was absolutely the most insensitive.
Oh, they just used it to attack President Trump is all they did.
Oh, of course. Do a political speech. Kamala gets up there. I told you so. I told you so. What kind of talk is that at a funeral service?
I think it's disrespectful no matter what, first of all.
It was so disrespectful and so immature. But
here's the question, though. If somebody gives you permission, a lot of times, hey, they say, do you have a power of attorney for somebody in this case? Otherwise, you can't sign for them. And when is the verbal okay versus when is, permission in writing okay? If Joe Biden gave permission to people, is it just a blanket verbal? I give you and 50 other people permission just to sign on my behalf because of the paper avalanche. I mean, at some point, to me, there seems to be more here that we're missing.
Well, there's a point you're missing there. Just a minute. A crime is different than having someone sign something where you have to have power of attorney. You still aren't going to have a crime. if I gave you permission to do it. It's just that the agency that's dealing with your signature will say, no, we don't accept that. It has to be your signature, but it's still not a crime.
Right. That's exactly right. And many times when we're looking at this paper trail that is created, therein you find the corruption. The same thing we were talking about with the $19 billion that's missing there in Minnesota. That was buried under so many layers of corruption that you never will dig it out. And so, as you were saying, Sam, there are so many different documents that may have been signed. There is no way that you're ever going to dig that out. So what happens? It remains in place. It remains the same. It doesn't change.
That's right. So at the end of the day, here's the question. What do we do about it to make sure it doesn't get worse as presidents continue to exploit this? And pretty soon you have an administration that just does whatever they want. And then the president doesn't want to get in trouble. Neither does the underlings or whatever you want to say. So everybody's just like, oh yeah, we all had permission. Yeah. No. And how do we make sure that stuff doesn't happen going forward?
I don't think we're going to hire an incompetent president again for a long time. I think it'll be a long time before we let a Joe Biden happen again to the American people. It'll be a long time.
I pray that's right. Sheriff, what do you say, though? How do we make sure this doesn't continue? It's one thing to say, hey, no harm, no foul here. But going forward, we need to put some safeguards in place maybe, right?
I think Pastor Bryant's totally wrong on that issue because I believe they will if they elect Kamala Harris, they are going to be they're going to be electing the most incompetent person.
No, it'll be Gavin. Gavin's your man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If we stand by and let Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris become president of the United States, we deserve. Exactly. We deserve what we got.
I'm going to go live with Rosie O'Donnell.
I think Ireland's kicking her out though.
I'm just going to put Nancy Pelosi in charge of my portfolio.
Oh yeah, Nancy would work as my financial advisor, no question about it.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and hey, it would just use an auto pen to make sure things go speedily.
Hey, let everybody sign for Nancy. But anyway, just the same, guys, it is one of those things where we do have to be vigilant, and we do have to understand that these are different times that we live in. But if in fact we're vigilant, we can recapture the spirit of what once was that governed us in a way that brought us to prosperity.
And there was a time when Democrats and Republicans both had a moral compass. They had different beliefs and everything else. But, hey, the old guard, yellow dog Democrats that were very cautious on financing and everything else. And, in the old days, everybody wanted to be a Democrat. Now everybody wants to be a Republican. But my point being that, hey, we need to bring back an era of accountability, an era of honesty, an era of transparency, and that's where the solutions lie. CL?
Oh, absolutely. And that era, I don't know where it slipped away. Some say that it slipped away during the Vietnam era. Maybe it did. The Jane Fondas and that type of era. There's a different, something was infused into the American bloodline. But decency and respect for law and order. And that's why I was really happy to stand with you and Sheriff Mack on a couple of months ago there in Washington State for the the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association gathering there. The respect for law and order has to be restored within our American young people, or we are surely going to regret that as we grow older in this country.
CL Bryant, everybody. His show is at 2 Eastern, noon Mountain Time on lovingliberty.net, on YouTube, Rumble, just about everywhere. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.